everyone has a show from their childhood that if they look back on it, it's their favorite. For people of my generation, there's lots of shows it could be, like SpongeBob, Avatar: The Last Airbender, or Teen Titans, just to name a few. But for me, there was only ever one. Code Lyoko is a show about a group of kids known outside of the show as the Lyoko Warriors at a school called Katic Academy who try to stop an evil AI known as Xana from destroying the world by leaving their 2D real world and going to a 3D virtual world called Lyoko. The mixing of animation styles works incredibly well here because the 3D world takes place in a computer and 3D animation can only really be done on a computer, while 2D can be done by hand even though it often isn't anymore. The show follows them leading their digital friend Aelita, who is the only humanoid resident of Lyoko, to activated towers that Xana uses to attack the world, where she can deactivate them by inputting code Lyoko. Oh, that's where the name comes from. All while trying to see if they can get Aelita out of Lyoko and join the real world, where they can shut down the computer and stop Xana forever. I've always loved this show. I will admit, when I first saw a commercial for it, I wasn't completely sure about it. I thought it looked strange. But when I actually saw the show, I was drawn into its beautifully animated and 3D animated world. That love was also helped by the fact that this show only came on once per day, right when I got home from school, and my dad, who was my stay-at-home parent, wanted me to work on homework before I watched any TV, but I was able to convince him to let me watch this show before homework, since it only came on once per day, and I would miss it if I didn't watch it then, so yay, I win! It's also genuinely a really good show, and it is still my favorite. This show went on to convince me to get things that weren't even branded Code Lyoko, but reminded me of the show. For instance, most people get an Einstein poster because they like Einstein, science, or want to look smart. Me? I wanted to copy Jeremie from Code Lyoko. But I also did get official merch, like these tiny figures. I even 3D printed one recently. Also recently, I got this Nintendo DS game that I haven't gotten a chance to play yet, but I am definitely looking forward to it. However, my ultimate flex, I have the entire show on DVD. Yeah, I know, the season 1 doesn't match these at all. Here's the story on that. This first season is the only one that was traditionally released. The others were actually individually made on order by Amazon. They no longer make those anymore. At the time, I could have bought the season 1 to match these, but I thought, I already have season 1, it's fine. It doesn't match the others, but it's fine. It's fine. It's not fine. I deeply regret that I did not get it, because I don't have a season 1 that matches the rest. And now when you go online to see these, they're, how do I put this? Overpriced. How does this one go for $500? Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, when I was getting those screenshots, I could only find seasons 2 to 4. I couldn't actually find season 1. Let me check to see if season 1 is on there now. Oh! That's too much. I mean, it is my favorite childhood show. And I have wanted to complete that for 20 years. It's not that far above the edge of unreasonable to me. But I'm not that dumb, am I? Oh my word, it's here, it's here, it's here, it's here! Okay. Crap, where's my scissors? It's in the other room. Oh, there they are. Oh, yes. Finally. Okay. Oh, that's great. Ooh, packaged nicely. My heart is throbbing in my chest. I did not think I would ever get this. Oh, my word. Okay, let's get it open. All right. And there it is. Oh my word. Okay. Season 1. Oh, she's beautiful. I am crying a little bit. This just looks so good. I'll test these later, but oh my word. Well, as you saw, yep, yes I am. The original season 1, which I used for my rewatch, has problems. And now that I have the other one, I feel less bad talking about them. I was going to anyway, but I feel better about it. Not getting rid of it, though. For one, the case is solid orange, but the back of the slipcover has an image on it, which you can just barely see. Yeah, it's only really visible if I were to take this out. See? Much more clear. Looks good, though. And the episodes aren't in order. In fact, as a kid, I had to make this chart where I listed all of the episodes and where they are on the DVD. It's nuts! You don't finish with disc 1 until episode 21 of 26. Also, that's the first episode on the disc. I normally would say this is a season where the order doesn't matter. It's fine. However, when you take a look at the episode list, as you can see here, while I did say that yes, the first episode on the first disc is the 21st out of 26th, there's one other episode worth talking about here. Episode 13, which is the last episode on the last disc, taking place directly after the 2-part season finale. That episode definitionally can't take place after the finale. There are episodes that would work in that spot, but not that one. It's a poorly put together set. But I do still love it, if for no other reason than nostalgia. Also, the disc art is great, but now I do have to talk about the biggest negative aspect of it. Each disc has unskippable, unfast-forwardable ads. And when all the episodes are in the wrong order, you have to watch the unskippable, unfast-forwardable ad every single time. Some sequences on here, let me find one here and read it. It goes disc 1, disc 2, disc 1, disc 3, disc 2, disc 1, disc 3, disc 2, disc 1, disc 2. Then 3 episodes on disc 3. That was a good day. Anyway, yeah, it's nuts. Real quick, thank you to my brother for getting me a DVD player where I can in fact skip past the ads. Unfortunately, it was only in the last third of my rewatch, but still, thank you. So, this set looks really good. This set functions much better. It has everything in order, and it matches with the rest, so I'm happy to have both finally. But that's enough of me showing off. Let's talk about the show itself, and where else to start but at the beginning, which I'm sure won't feel strange at all. The theme is excellent, and still draws me in instantly. It has such a beautiful orchestra start to it, and the visuals intrigue and draw you in, with the zeros around the screen and then the tunnel. I like how each character is shown in this stylized graphic showing their real world and then virtual world version of themselves. Except Aelita and Jeremie, who only stay on the virtual and real worlds respectively. Also, I noticed pretty late in the rewatch, only in the rewatch 20 years later, that for the 4 virtual world people, each person is shown with a different sector of the world behind them. And then you have the ending graphic where you see everyone and then the full title appearing on a computer screen. It's great. The episode properly starts with 2 minor supporting characters named Millie and Tamia, who lead the school news. They are video recording the main cast as they set up for prom. They start to talk to Sissy, the principal's daughter, when she dismisses them for being young and getting no one to take them to prom. Ulrich is then asked by Millie,
"Would you be my date tonight?"
And he lets her down fairly but not completely easily.
"Sorry, Millie. I'm too old for you. See, I promised to go with Yumi."
And Millie leaves crying. We then see Ulrich, Yumi, and Odd glaring at Sissy for being mean. Okay, let's talk about the character designs. Yes, their heads are huge, and it's just a stylistic choice. but it creates a unique and, I would say, good look. Oh my god, how big is Ulrich's head? How is that pencil neck holding it up? The others look almost okay, but then Ulrich is just insane. Anyway, we cut to Jeremie contacting Aelita on his computer, and I just have to talk about this shot. I always thought it was hilarious as a kid. Why use that hand? Also, why use that key? It's either page up or minus, depending on how far over on the keyboard. By the way, the keyboard is a mostly accurate looking, but sometimes a little off, and so I can't tell exactly what key it is. I just have to ask why. Also, one thing I love about the keyboard is it has an enter like this. I love that. So it's just him sitting there going... It's great. Back to the episode, Aelita confirms nothing's happening on Lyoko, and Jeremie says he's still continuing to work on the dematerialization program. And Aelita gets excited thinking it's done.
You found it at last?
But Jeremie confirms he's still just working on it, but he hopes to finish with it soon. I'm sure for people who've never seen this show, you're probably thinking, I'm not talking about the pilot. I'm clearly just throwing a bunch of things at you and not explaining who any of these people are, or what they're doing, and acting like you already know all of it. I just want to be very clear. This is genuinely how I and everyone back in the day started this show. As a kid, I genuinely, sincerely thought I missed an episode, which in some ways makes this a bad pilot. There is a lot that indicates this is the first episode, though. The big tell is that the clips of the characters used in the theme song come from this episode and the next one. So it turns out that when I said this episode and the next episode, I mostly meant the next episode. I don't know how I made that mistake. Anyway, here's the clips compared to where they're shown in the theme song, and we'll start with the pilot, then go to the second episode, so enjoy.
Know what you're gonna find over there.
I volunteer.
What did I just say, huh?
Well, have you got any other ideas?
And I'm saying that maybe Xana is behind this.
Don't get so excited, Jeremie. It was just a short circuit.
And I say if you don't take him, you'd better find yourself a new singer.
If Sissy's idea was to cause trouble, she's done a great job.
If it's under Xana's control, it'll only become much matter. It'll go for anybody that's around, especially his mortal enemies, like you.
Huh?
That only makes sense in a pilot. Like, she never says this in any other episode. This is an info dump for the viewer. Yeah, this is how you're supposed to get introduced to the characters and the world. And I might as well give the characters more introduction than they get in the show. Jeremie. His name is spelled the French way for reasons we'll get into later. He is the team's computer expert, and he doesn't go to Lyoko, but he is essential in getting people to Lyoko and mapping out where they go and what they can see in Lyoko. And he also usually figures out Xana's plans. He also cares deeply about Aelita and has a massive crush on her. Aelita, she is the elf virtual resident of Lyoko who can deactivate towers Xana uses to attack the real world, and also, unlike everyone else who has black eyes, she has green eyes. She does not have any weapons to fight with. She does have the special ability to impact Lyoko by adding structures to it, and you learn later that costs her half her life points, so she doesn't use it often. She loves discussing the real world with Jeremie and reflects the crush back at him, but being from a computer, she sadly only understands so much, but is eager to learn. Ulrich. He is the quiet and reserved one, more likely to internalize any frustration and take it back on himself. He has a strained relationship with his dad and his odds roommate. He likes Yumi, but lacks the confidence to approach the topic with her. On Lyoko, he uses a katana as a weapon and has the ability to triplicate himself. His look is very much based on Japan. Gee, I wonder who he has a crush on. Odd. He is the comic relief character. He works to take things less seriously whenever possible. When things do get to it, he will do what it takes to help save his friends. He also has a dog that he's not allowed to have in his dorm room named Kiwi. And despite that fact, in Lyoko, he is a cat. He does have his dog as a badge on his outfit, so yeah. He also can shoot laser arrows, which look like regular arrows, but they're laser, because whatever. They come out of his wrist. He can also sometimes see the future. He has no control over that, and it's rarely used. For instance, it's only used twice this entire season. Yumi. She is very moral, and based on my recent rewatch, I would say she is the second smartest person on the team, on Earth at least, after Jeremie. And most of her smarts come in the form of practicality. She also likes Ulrich, she's just not good at expressing it. And she is the only day student, so she lives just off campus with her parents. She's Japanese and is proud of her heritage. And you can see evidence of this, like in this one episode, where she brings in her family's samurai outfit for some type of show and tell that's not well explained. On Lyoko, her weapon is a fan. When I went to Disney, I got this fan because of her. And I used to take it and separate the pieces so that I could get it in a half blade like what she uses to attack people. I also would get regular paper fans, but those have been destroyed. This is all that remains. So yay. Ooh. On Lyoko, her special power is telekinesis. She can use it really well, but it does strain her, so she can't use it for long. Another character who is important to this that we need to talk about is Sissy. She is the principal's daughter, and she has a major crush on Ulrich that he does not reciprocate. And Yumi also doesn't like her for obvious reasons. No one really likes her because she's the principal's daughter and she thinks she can get away with anything, which she can. She also has two cronies that go around with her, Herb and Nicholas. We'll talk a little bit about each of them as we go further, but neither of them is really all that important, especially to this first season. Xana is an artificial intelligence and the main antagonist of the series. He will activate a tower in Lyoko to influence the real world with a plan to kill the Lyoko warriors, or otherwise cause destruction in town, or around the world occasionally. As a kid, I originally thought Xana was spelled with a Z, because of the Z sound at the beginning. But sometimes they send texts to each other, and as you can see, it's spelled with an X. As a side note, this series takes place in 2005, so take a look at those Nokia phones. They're everywhere. Also, Xana has a logo, and I love it. It's used throughout the show, either on a monster's eye, as you can see here, hopefully. It's also used on the platform inside of towers when Aelita goes in, or it's on this switch that's used to power the world of Lyoko. The world of Lyoko has 4 sectors: desert, forest, mountain, and ice. When Jeremie sends people to Lyoko, he can send them to various points throughout the world to get them close to the location they need to in order to join Aelita. Of the monsters in Lyoko, we see Kankralots. That's these guys. I'm not sure how to describe them, but they are the smallest and easiest villain to attack. We have hornets, which I don't have, which are quick and fly. Then there are crabs, which I also don't have. I tried to 3D print one, but that didn't work. These guys have really thin legs. Then there are megatanks, which look like this. They are spheres that create a wall of energy coming out from here out. They're only targetable when they attack. Even though the Xana logo shows up all around here, as you can see, they only ever attack this eye. I'm not sure why. I'm guessing this is the only one that does damage, but I don't get why the others are here then. And then there are blocks, which are my favorite. It's just so silly having a walking cube that can attack people with lasers or ice. And it does this just by spinning its head around. It's fantastic! Finally, after all of that introduction, let's get back to the plot. We see Millie run from her dorm to the school's garden shed to cry. After Tamiya arrives, they decide to leave. Millie leaves her teddy bear there, for unknown reasons, and an unidentified substance, Xana goop, I never was sure what to call it, comes out of the light and into the teddy bear. This substance is used and shown throughout the show, and I don't even know if there's a fan name for it. I just always called it Xana goop. Back at the dorms, we see Sissy finding an outfit for prom, and now is the time to talk about something else. This show is French. It was made in France and imported into America. While researching this video, I tried to see if I could find any reason as to why a French show came to America, because usually America is either making its own shows or importing them from Japan, but I couldn't find anything about that. The only thing I could find was other shows that came from France, like Totally Spies, which I also didn't realize was a French show. So I'm learning a lot of strange things, just not the thing I was trying to find, but, that's interesting. So the entire time I was growing up, I had no clue this show was French. Little me was an idiot. Or maybe just ignorant. I mean, it's not like Jeremie's last name is Belpois, or that in one episode Xana attacks everyone with a satellite and you see it zoom in on France at one point. Another way of spotting its French origins are moments like this, where as a kid I would just hope my parents wouldn't say anything because they would definitely say things if they came in at the wrong time. This is something that would never happen in an American kids show. It's not technically sexual, but I think the FCC would definitely call it sexual. I feel like this is an extension of the French attitude towards being cool with less clothing in general. I wrote that part, assuming it wasn't just a stereotype of the French people, and after the absolute maximum amount of Googling I am willing to do on the subject, which I'll be clear, is not much. It appears to be true, but maybe it's also changing a bit, I don't know. I'm not looking anymore. Hopefully sticking back with the plot, we see a POV of the bear moving things and trying to attack Sissy. The Lyoko warriors think Xana could be involved and try to investigate.
Make sure that our old friend Xana isn't behind this.
Millie and Tamia follow and take a photo of Sissy's room, then try and get the teddy bear back out of the shed, but are stopped at the last second by the best teacher character in the show, Jim. Jim is not at his funniest in this season, but he is still great. Here he's just being a normal good teacher when he just kicks them out of the shed where the dangerous tools are kept, but wait for next season. It's gonna be great. Later, they look at the photo they took of Sissy's room and see the teddy bear in her room.
And there's my teddy bear!
In another area of the school, Jim sees the teddy bear and it attacks him, and we see its shadow where it clearly grew to at least 1 story tall. Odd later finds a drawing Jim made of the bear that the principal threw away because he is rightfully skeptical of Jim's story. Now with the Xana attack officially confirmed, Odd and Jeremie go to a storage room and into the sewers, where they find a skateboard and scooter. I always like Jeremie's choice of travel device because it matches my sensibilities. And I used to have one of those and always pretended to be going through the sewers of the show when I used it. They then continue through the sewers, ascend up and go into a factory where they go down an elevator. I love how they're able to get away with the highly detailed button by just putting an animated hand on top of this painted background and then doing a sound effect of them pushing the button. They then enter a room with the coolest computer setup I've ever seen. I know the small screens around the main one make no sense and aren't really useful, but who cares? That is so cool! And the floating keyboard and the chair that spins around, I want it! And here we get to see more evidence of this being a pilot. You hear the theme song instrumental version in full as they go from the school to Odd being virtualized, something that isn't done in hardly any episodes. Back with the others, Ulrich finds evidence of the bear leaving school grounds, and I have to ask, how has Jim been the only one to see this? Okay, I can't leave this unsaid anymore. As a kid and now, this was the most ludicrous plot Xana ever did. How does a toy bear grow like that? Like, I made this crochet bee, and then I went to make it bigger. I had to make another one. I had to get bigger threads, a bigger crochet hook, and everything. You can't just stretch this one to get this. You have to make it again with different materials. What? You can't just stretch fabric like that. Even as a kid, I thought this was ridiculous. On Lyoko, Odd finds Kenkralots and shoots at some of them. Also, I need to talk about the music. The monster theme when they show up here is great.
The reception committee.
Lots of the music is reused throughout the show, but it's a good soundtrack. It just sounds so good, and anytime I hear it, I'm just, it's good. Then, Odd's rarely used power happens, where Odd gets a vision of Aelita falling off of a cliff. And later, when that happens, he's able to save her because of the vision, and their location where they stop leads them closer to the activated tower. While going to the tower, Odd and Aelita see a mega tank. Odd just has to take it out so that Aelita can get in the tower. Back in the real world, we see Yumi getting ready for prom, and like Sissy, Yumi is in a different outfit, in the pilot no less. Ulrich then takes her to prom to save people, and now we see that people can see the teddy bear. Thank goodness. At the prom, Ulrich takes over the microphone to announce about the teddy bear attack.
You have all got to get out of here. We are about to be attacked by a gigantic teddy bear.
Then immediately, the teddy bear crashes through the wall. On Lyoko, Odd takes out the mega tank, and Aelita is able to pass through the wall of the tower and perfectly onto a narrow platform and ascend to a second platform where she inputs her handprint and then puts Code Lyoko to end the attack. Something I always wondered, are both sides of the tower identical? Can Aelita only enter from a specific zone of the outside of the tower? Or does the inside just match wherever you're going? Or did the animators just not want to redo the animation of Aelita entering the tower? Let's be real, it's the last one. After Aelita deactivates the tower, the bear stops moving, even though it's mid-motion. Okay. Then time reverses in a large wall of white, and then the episode starts over, with the Xana attack having never happened, and Ulrich gets another go at his conversation with Millie, and agrees to go with her, much to Sissy's anger.
I'll see you here at 8. What?
And that's the pilot. As you might be able to tell, the show runs from a very basic formula. The kids are at school, and then usually something happens, and they suspect Xana is behind it, so they do what they can to stop the problem in the real world, and send people to Lyoko to help Aelita and deactivate a tower. At which point the attack freezes, it doesn't matter if it's running water, an attacking giant teddy bear, or gas, it will freeze in place even if it's in motion. The Return to the Past program will activate from the deactivated tower, and then time will reverse to an earlier point in the episode, at which point, given their knowledge of what will happen, the heroes are able to get ahead of something that was done to them. But that's it. That's the show. This does leave a question. How is a show able to work with a formula like that? The answer is, it has a lot of filler. TV shows nowadays don't have filler episodes. They've gone from 22 episodes per season down to 8 to 10 episodes, and feel more like 8-hour movies. I don't hate these shows, to be clear, but I want more popular shows that take place in a few locations, where plot and character are the most important part, and there's 22 episodes. When you only use a few locations where plot and character are the most important part, it leaves you lots of room for character development and world building. This season is a 26-episode season. It has tons of filler episodes, and they're great. Now, because so much of the season is expanding on character, I'm going to break down most of the rest of the season by which character the episodes are about. This show does relationships, or rather, hinting at relationships, so I've grouped them by relationship, and I'll talk with the episodes relative to both of the people in the couple's character development. Yumi and Ulrich have a will they or won't they situation. It's based in their more reserved personalities, and the fact that they are both better at doing things for others than for themselves. Let's start with the episode Logbook. Logbook is about Sissy finding Ulrich's diary and using it to try and get Ulrich to date her. When I was initially rewatching this, I remembered ahead and thought this was about her stealing Ulrich's journal, because unnecessarily gendered use of the word diary got to me. So I appreciate this show for challenging those kind of beliefs and stereotypes even 20 years later. Yumi is working to try and get the diary back in order to get Ulrich out of this situation. She's able to find Sissy's diary and use it to force her to say where Ulrich's diary is.
Like in that sweaty jumpsuit of
Okay,
his.
okay, what do you want?
Oh, and the story's Xana plot is about Xana taking over a bus that's supposed to be on the way to the pool, and has it go to a nuclear power plant. So, just a minor issue, no big deal. There's a great little Ulrich-Yumi moment at the end where, after Return to the Past, Yumi gets the diary before Sissy can make her threat, and she promises that she didn't read it, and it's clear that they think about kissing or at least flirting further. But then they don't. Also, fun fact, Rick from Rick and Morty appears in this episode. Not really, but the resemblance is uncanny. Next episode, Image Problem. This is the first episode to start mid-action, and it involves a very funny moment where Jeremie is giving corrections to people's direction where they're traveling on Lyoko
30 degrees north!
when the path they're on has no possibility of deviation at all. I just thought that was hilarious. Anyway, Yumi dematerializes and the tower is deactivated, but not by Aelita, so there's no return to the past in this. I haven't mentioned this till now, but usually when people dematerialize from Lyoko, they're strained. I'm assuming that exiting Lyoko drains you a lot to where you can't just re-enter again, and that explains why they never do. But Yumi is fully passed out here, which is strange. So they take her to the nurse, and I have to compliment the music here because if you know the music ahead of time, you can tell what's happened.
Oh, hey! No, come on, lie down now, you hear? Please, you need to rest.
That's right, it's Xana's theme. It's just in a different orchestration. And now is the time to mention, I love the music in this. It's all fantastic. This was just a moment that really stood out to me that I didn't notice when I was a kid, and it's great. What we learned just from this music cue, and also from her actions later, is Yumi has been replaced with a clone. The Yumi clone gets up to a lot of interesting stuff, and it's really helpful to define who Yumi is by having this clone who acts not like her. She doesn't respond to the nurse, and it feels immediately out of character. Yumi's voice actress does a great performance here.
Yumi, tell us what happened on Lyoko.
Nothing, you hear? Come on, let's go over to the factory now. It's not true. Why don't you go out with her? She's really pretty.
It's a very purposefully stilted and awkward performance, like it's someone trying to be human, which is what it is. There's this bit where, I'll call her Xana Yumi, is in trouble at the principal's office when he threatens to call her parents, and Xana Yumi has an interesting response.
Very well. Keep this up and I'll have to inform your parents about the way you're behaving.
Not my parents. Oh, not my parents!
It shows a resentment Xana has towards his creator. Oh, is that season 2 foreshadowing? We'll talk about that next time. Then, there is this moment where Xana Yumi is flirting with Jeremie when she doesn't get her way, and it is...
It's important, you hear? I have to go back to the scanner room. There.
Very cold. Calm you down.
disturbing. Both the open flirting and the fact that she is flirting with Jeremie. Also, I love Jeremie's reaction of just curling up into a ball and panicking. Then, one of my favorite recurring bits from the show happens with Mrs. Hertz teaching about cloning for no discernible reason.
And we can also observe cases of parthenogenesis among certain insects. This phenomenon is relatively common and comparable to a sort of natural cloning.
Aelita is able to find something that they never turned into an action figure called a Guardian, a floating energy orb that has trapped Yumi. To solve this, Aelita uses her special ability of creating new constructs in Lyoko, and Aelita uses this to create a digital fake of Yumi to trick the Guardian into thinking it hasn't captured Yumi. And it falls for this, and it moves to capture the new Yumi and explodes, freeing Yumi. At the end, I love how real Yumi does fake flirting with Jeremie, as a joke.
Do you have any proof that it's the real me you're looking at?
What are you doing? No. Cut it out.
While she does similar actions to what her clone did, it feels very different. This entire episode features an absolutely amazing performance from the American voice actor. On to Swarming Attack. This episode starts with Ulrich getting a love note, supposedly from Yumi. Later, Ulrich says he's not sure if he's in love, which makes sense for a teenager, even though Ulrich and Yumi have been crushing on each other since literally episode 1. As someone who suffers from sympathy to cringe, it is so painful watching Ulrich confess his feelings to Yumi, thinking she wrote that note, only to realize Sissy is the one who wrote it. Once he realizes it's a prank, he just wants to walk away, even when Yumi seemed open to the conversation, even if just brief. Onto the title reference, Xana is attacking people with hornets in both the real and virtual world, which is a fun parallel. Also, I like the setup for the episode, The Robots, by having Jeremie use a sonic noise-making robot to scare the hornets away. I won't be talking about the robots, but I just wanted to point out, he makes an accurate recreation of Odd's dog Kiwi, and that shouldn't go unspoken, so I'll mention it here. After the return to the past, I love the way Ulrich gets one over on Sissy by catching her leaving the note and then going to read it, but she takes it before he can because now the prank won't work. Laughing fit. And now we have another Mrs. Hertz explains something that's definitely not related to the plot as she introduces laughing gas to the class. What's this episode called again? Laughing fit, right. Another piece of evidence that this show is French is the plugs are wrong. We see one of them as Xana uses the Xana goop to take over laughing gas. Those aren't American plugs. I love the eyes in the gas cloud. It's just a really fun, goofy image. It wants to be scary. It's not as much. The gas itself is scarier. Which Mrs. Hertz had said, if it used in high quantity, can kill people. This episode is also about Yumi's parents who are temporarily separated, and Yumi is trying to get them back together. Ulrich is trying to make her feel better, while Sissy is wanting him to play Romeo to her Juliet in the school play. Sissy's crony named Herb, who is apparently in the French version, as well as in fanfiction I read years ago, is called Herve, which isn't a hard French name, but I guess they had to change it. Anyway, Herb is deeply upset that Sissy doesn't care about him and doesn't want him to play Romeo anymore, despite it being what he thinks is his true life calling, to play Romeo to Sissy's Juliet. In order to help Yumi, Ulrich agrees to be Romeo in order to get Yumi a part in the play, in order for her to trick her parents into going to the play by telling each of them that the other isn't coming. This is done both before and after time is reversed. Also, both times they get Yumi's parents to laugh at some humor they inject in the play.
On guard, guard!
As a kid, I was always upset that we didn't know what caused the fight, but as an adult, I think that was the right decision. It was obviously something recoverable, and the main characters are students who clearly wouldn't learn what it was that caused the fight, so I think it ends up working. Amnesia. This episode starts with a cold open of a tracking shot to an activating tower, and I love it. We start the episode with Xana taking over nanobots that Mrs. Hertz has in the class so that the plot can happen. I joke about this happening a lot, but I want to be clear. I genuinely love this plot device, in part because of how obvious it is. While joking around with the rest of the group, Ulrich gets some of the nanobot goop on his face and collapses, and he's taken to the nurse. When he wakes up, Ulrich has lost all of his memories, and Sissy takes complete advantage of the situation.
And who are you?
Me, I'm Sissy, your sweetheart.
And it works, because Ulrich has flashes of memory that are vaguely able to convince him of Sissy being sincere.
Well, Ulrich, when are you gonna admit you're mad about me, huh?
They use real moments from the show and not made up ones so that viewers know the real context and can understand how he was tricked. It's great! And even though Sissy is actively lying to him, Ulrich can tell she's not his type.
Come sit down. You need to rest.
What I need is to be alone.
So despite the memory loss, his personality remains. Even though Sissy's implanted ideas have told him Odd is an enemy of his, he gets memory flashbacks of them being friends. I love the effects for the memories. They don't use black and white, but instead use sepia tone, which works really well for a cartoon. I love these moments of Ulrich piecing his life together on his own and using that discovery to find the path through the sewer to the factory. When Ulrich makes his way to the factory, I'm glad that they included the details of the number pad behind the elevator buttons. That was only shown in an episode we'll talk about later called The Girl of the Dreams. It lends credibility to the idea that this is used in every episode, they just show it in basically none of them. After the return to the past, it's interesting that all the stuff in the bottom of the nanobot generating tool are still there, even though Xana is the one who caused it to activate, and then Ulrich just burns it and melts the slide. Based on the extremely limited Googling I'm willing to do in order to avoid getting on a list, I don't think a slide could melt like that from a Bunsen burner, but I do get the narrative point of this. Zero Gravity Zone. This episode shows us the most backstory we get for Ulrich by showing his relationship with his dad. It also starts off with Xana's plan of using electricity to cause gravity to reverse and make things float into space. I overspoke when I said that fabric stretching and turning a teddy bear into a giant teddy bear was the most ludicrous plot. Sissy's baton going into space is a really fun moment, though.
We're gonna seal your fate! Woo! Woo! Ta-da! Huh?
The sissy, her baton never came back.
Ulrich is uncharacteristically not wanting to participate in Lyoko things and chooses to focus on soccer. Odd explains it's because of Ulrich's father, who gives Ulrich unrealistic expectations. As a kid, I did not care for this plot, but as an adult, this is excellent. Just really well done. And here are some fun moments from the soccer prep that we see in this. We see this shot reused several times. I like that the rival soccer player looks like every Russian from every movie with a Russian villain ever. Some really good, not as fun moments include these little shots where we cut away to Ulrich's parents when you see a man who can look extremely stern but has a slight smile on his face when Ulrich plays well. Jeremie realizes that the reverse gravity will be focused on the soccer field and the science building, and would have gotten all of the Lyoko warriors if they hadn't noticed the earlier test with Sissy's baton. Ulrich gets a call from Jeremie saying he needs to abandon the game and go save people. We then see Ulrich's dad's stern face.
Oh.
Even though it doesn't move, the viewer is able to get exactly what has happened between them. The music that plays when Ulrich answers the phone call from Jeremie after seeing his dad smile at him for once is perfectly depressing.
One's at the game.
Are you absolutely sure?
Then, for a moment, you really believe Ulrich is going to turn away from saving people for the game. But then he fakes an injury, something that I now understand is quite common for soccer players, but here he plays it as genuine in order for him to leave the game and go save people in the science building. Ulrich is able to save Mrs. Hertz in the science room in a really fun sequence with sideways buildings that as a kid I always thought that, man, if this were real, they'd have to build a whole new set for this. And Ulrich then tries to save people from the field. I love this moment where Ulrich's dad tells Ulrich that he's proud of him.
Goodbye, Ulrich. I'm proud of you. Really, I am.
It is nice to have, after Ulrich walked away from the stadium, to be told that. After the return to the past, we see everyone at the game, and I'm kind of sad to not see the end of the game, but I'd like to assume Ulrich did great. Routine. For an episode called Routine, starting mid-adventure and a return to the past, and then just seeing Ulrich be bored, it's a really good start. We don't even actually see the return to the past, we just go from the adventure to right after, where Jeremie says, "Great job, everyone," and then we see the aftermath, and a fun moment where Odd does a perfect impression of Sissy before Sissy walks up asking for help.
Hello, Ulrich, dear. Can we talk for a minute?
Hello, Ulrich, dear. Can we talk for a minute?
We later see Jeremie and Odd leave saying ciao.
See you tomorrow.
Ciao, Yumi, see you tomorrow.
Man, I wonder what country made this show. Of all the Lyoko warriors, Ulrich is the one most believable to be bored with this routine. Odd loves the chaotic nature of it, Yumi wants to protect everyone, and Jeremie wants to get Aelita out of Lyoko. Ulrich is much more of a loner, so this works really well. As a result of his choice to try and break his routine, Ulrich's relationships with everyone are stretched. He has a believable frustration with his relationship with Yumi, and he starts flirting with a character that has been seen but not speaking till now, Emily. And their relationship seems to work pretty well. Yumi is discussing her frustration with Ulrich's new relationship, saying that Emily is a year older than Ulrich.
Me jealous of Emily? You've got to be kidding. Besides, she's a year older than him, and that's a lot.
Guess what? You were also a year older than him.
So she then declares she's Ulrich's girlfriend. Great, good friend. Good friend.
Yeah, well, it's not the same thing. I'm Ulrich's girlfriend. I'm his good friend.
Sissy then tries to just make things worse between Ulrich and Yumi by saying he's been seeing Emily for 2 months. Yumi then confronts Ulrich about the 2-month thing, and it leads to them dancing around the whole idea of if they actually like each other or not. And they do this really great dramatic background where it turns all red while Ulrich and Yumi have their fight. I really like it. The episode also features the first appearance of the Super Calculator Room, where Jeremie has to fix things so that the main Lyoko warriors can get out of Lyoko at the end. They then end the episode on an emotional high, with Ulrich and Yumi almost kissing on Lyoko, which is great. After the return to the past, Yumi destroys Sissy's argument about the 2-month thing by being cool with it.
Think 2 months already, huh?
Really? 2 months? That long?
Then Ulrich and Yumi talk, and even they acknowledge the kiss nearly happened.
I mean, what nearly happened.
I'd rather you didn't talk about it to Odd and Jeremie. At least not right away.
I'll be honest, it feels more like an ending that was designed to continue the will there or won't they story, which is a frustrating way to continue that for next season. And that's the Ulrich and Yumi episodes. I do want to say, I do find it weird that there's more stuff about Ulrich than Yumi here, but that's what I got. Odd. Sadly, Odd is mostly the comic relief character, and there's only one episode that is specifically focusing around him. So, as a result, he's not given a ton of depth, and I think that's why he's my least favorite character. It's not to say I don't like him. He's a lot of fun, and the show would be lesser without him and his comedic stylings, but the others are just more interesting to me. That isn't to say there's not a lot of character given to him, it's just that when I'm breaking down the entire show by character, it doesn't leave me a ton to work with. So we'll talk about what I can with this episode. Rock Bottom. In this episode, we get to see a girl Odd likes from a different school named Samantha. This episode also features the first hint of Jim wanting to catch the Lyoko Warriors doing something, which is important to the season finale. Odd likes Samantha. We don't get to learn a ton about her other than she comes from a rough background, and the only thing we know for sure that Odd and her have in common is music. And the fact that Odd is trying to hide her from the others is interesting, but it's sadly not explored a ton. It could be embarrassed by having a crush, it could be the fact that he's into music and none of the others seem to really be into it, aside from the episode where they all form a band, or he might know the kinds of things she does, as we'll talk about in a minute. When Odd meets with Samantha, he somewhat awkwardly kisses her, and then she says she doesn't want to just talk about music. She wants to do something crazy. Samantha wants to steal a computer from storage, and Odd is saying, no, we can't do that. Samantha forces him to help her, and when they get caught, she hides and makes Odd take the blame. I'm also just going to say, on rewatch, I'm not a huge fan of the fact that this is the second speaking black character in the entire show, and the first thing she does is try to steal something. It's not a great look. Jeremie, who doesn't know about Samantha, tries to give Odd support by giving him one of his old computers. Odd tries to talk his way out of it by saying,
Yeah, although this time I needed a really powerful laptop.
Which Jeremie's computer can connect to a supercomputer and run things that are used on the supercomputer. I think his computer is pretty good. On to Xana's plot. Xana's plans are to sink the buildings into the ground. Fun plan. Odd finally tells them about Samantha and they go to rescue her because she's been trapped in the storage room this entire time. And later they take her to the factory and just leave her to hang out with Jeremie as they go to Lyoko. And sadly, Samantha doesn't get a ton of characterization outside of this. It's one of those things I wish there was more to work with here because the more she gets character, the more Odd gets character. But I have nothing here! After they return to the past, Jeremie just gives Samantha one of his old computers, which is a good resolution for this, and then she's not seen again for the rest of the season. So yeah, that's Odd's big character episode. He likes a girl from another school who tries to steal things. I wish there was more than this. I really genuinely do. You know, now that I think about it, there's actually one more episode I want to talk about. It's not exclusively about Odd, but it does show a lot of great characterization for multiple characters, so we'll just throw it in this section. And the fact that it's a great update for lots of characters makes sense, given it's the second episode of the season. So let's talk about Seeing is Believing. This episode is about Odd forming a band with school permission. The Lyoko Warriors fill most of the spots, but they need a drummer, and they are told to let any student join, since this is an official school-sponsored thing. Odd at first wants to let in a girl that he clearly has an instant crush on, but one of Sissy's cronies, Nicholas, comes in, and he is exactly what they need, and all of them know it. They just don't want to include him because he's friends with Sissy, and they don't like her. Just some side commentary here. I don't know much about drums, but I never thought his stuff was great. But I recognize the plot says he's amazing, therefore, he is amazing. After Nicholas leaves them alone to talk, Odd straight up says he will quit if Nicholas joins the band. In the meantime, Jeremie is noticing strange power fluctuations throughout the school and is convinced it's Xana. He doesn't know why. He does find an overloading pylon near the school. When he gets to the factory, his plot-delivering computer is able to say it's destroying the nuclear power plant that was talked about at the beginning of the episode in Mrs. Hurst's class. You thought you could escape that plot device, didn't you? Well, no! I just skipped it briefly. Also, I mentioned Jeremie's plot-delivering computer. Usually, I'm able to just go along with what Jeremie figures out, but this one... like, it's just one pylon that happens to be near the school, far away from the nuclear plant, but apparently it directly connects to it. Like, I think there's more connections along the way, buddy. I could be wrong, but I don't know. At the factory, when everyone arrives, Yumi gets a really great moment where, upon learning that the nuclear plant is what's being attacked, and if the nuclear plant is attacked, it could destroy everyone in the region, so she says they need to tell everyone. The others think that people finding out about Xana is too big a risk if they successfully stop it. But Yumi says they still need to tell people. They put it to a vote, and Jeremie and Odd say don't tell people. Ulrich and Yumi says to tell everyone, so it's a tie. Aelita then says she should get a vote.
Don't I have the right to vote?
Why, sure you do. That way there won't be a tie.
In that case, I vote for.
And she votes to tell people, knowing that this could lead to danger for her. She really is just a good person putting others ahead of herself. I love her, she's great. With this vote, Yumi goes to tell the authorities, and Ulrich and Odd go to Lyoko. Yumi is unsuccessful at convincing people about the factory and a evil AI using the pylon to destroy the nuclear plant. Despite the fact that it didn't work, I'm really glad she tried. Her intelligence to realize that if things go bad, this will be completely outside of our ability to fix, and wanting to prevent deaths is just a really great moment for her. After the return to the past, we see the band that Odd was trying to form, and Nicholas has joined as the drummer. Odd has clearly gotten over his issue with Nicholas, and is able to say Nicholas is great.
You were right! He's doing great!
Also, Jim is there because I skipped over the part earlier where Jim tried to join the band with his trombone. So they decided to include him too. And I also just want to mention, I love the song here.
Mystery girl from another world.
It's just so clearly about Aelita, and I love the idea of Nicholas and Jim just having no idea what this is, but still helping make the song anyway. So while this episode is much more of a Yumi and Aelita episode, you get a good glimpse into the problem of trying to break this down by character and talk about Odd. This is how most of his moments go. He gets an okay subplot in an episode that's really about someone else. Another good example of this type of thing, in an episode we've actually already talked about, Amnesia, Odd chooses to let Ulrich go on his own, when Sissy tricked Ulrich into thinking Odd was an enemy. Later, when Ulrich has made his way to the factory and goes to Lyoko, all without regaining his memory, Odd takes time to help Ulrich figure out how to fight on Lyoko again. It's a really great moment showing their friendship shine through, one of them having memory loss. So I think that's a much better note to end Odd's story with. So now let's go to Jeremie and Aelita. Jeremie and Aelita are in some ways the most important couple, considering the season's overall arc is about rescuing Aelita. And I'll just say, Jeremie is my favorite character. I mean, I am vaguely dressed up as him right now, in a turtleneck in the middle of summer. Jeremie was the most relatable to me growing up. I'm also not into sports, or the funny one, so of the guys, he was the most relatable to me. Aelita is also great, and I love her as well. She has a great curiosity about the world, and a very noble streak about her, as we saw earlier with Seeing is Believing. And she always thinks about others above herself. It really works for her. Like, I already loved her, but she grew on me the more I thought about it while working on this video. Cruel dilemma. We have a fun start to this one by having the principal show students the bulldozers that are going to do repairs on the school for no reason. It's not like Xana is going to take them over and use them to try and destroy the factory later. Nope. Definitely not happening. It is fun to see someone other than Mrs. Hertz doing this. Jeremie is working through the materialization program for Aelita when Odd interrupts him and spills lifesavers all over the keyboard, which amazingly makes a one-use attempt at materialization program. I love the narrative use of lifesavers here being actual lifesavers. Anyway, let's skip Xana's entire plan and jump to what's happening during the battle, with Odd getting his second ever vision of Yumi falling into the digital sea, the substance underneath and around all of Lyoko, which if you fall into will kill you and make you part of Lyoko forever, even though you're dead technically. Odd gets devirtualized before he can do anything about this vision, and Ulrich gets virtualized but is just too late and can't save Yumi. After they turn back time, Yumi is obviously gone, and they make the choice to use the one-use program to bring back Yumi. Jeremie struggles to do this, and it's slightly understandable.
The materialization program. It's operational, but Aelita has to give up her place to Yumi.
But ultimately, it shows a degree of selfishness that me, someone whose favorite character is Jeremie, does not like. His choice between who to bring back, the person who has already lived in the real world, and the girl he wants to live in the real world, isn't really a hard choice. Yet he struggles. Not in a disappointed way of going, it hurts me that I can't bring Aelita here, but I have to bring back Yumi. But it reads like he doesn't think he can do the materialization program again, so he'll never get another chance to bring Aelita here, so he wants to bring Aelita here.
At least you know the program works. You just have to set it back up again.
Yeah, nothing to it.
He still does it. It doesn't take a ton to push him to do it, but the type of struggle he does doesn't feel right to me. After Yumi comes back, Yumi comforts Jeremie after the fact.
Hey, Jeremie. Want some candy?
But I still don't like that my favorite character isn't looking great here. But hey, it's not that bad. It's just a moment, a brief moment at the end of the episode. I'm sure this won't happen again when I talk about episode 10. By the way, what's next in the list of Jeremie and Aelita episodes? Episode 10, The Girl of the Dreams. Okay, now I have to talk about this one. Tell you what, let's delay for a minute with another fun fact. In basically everywhere except in the episode title screen itself and IMDb, this episode is called The Girl of My Dreams, which is a better title. It's listed that way on the menu screens in the original DVD. It's listed that way on the back cover art for the new DVD, as well as the disc art, and on the menu on the disc itself. So I'd like to think that this was supposed to be called The Girl of My Dreams, which, as I said, is a better title, but just the episode itself lost track of that, so it's just up to literally everywhere else to correct this. I mean, it's just a minor correction. It's not like I only noticed it on my rewatch this time, 20 years after they made it, when I've watched this DVD multiple times. Okay, I can't delay anymore. I'll just say this. As a kid, I always thought of this as my least favorite episode, and it always made me cringe. So let's hope it's only remained cringe to a teen, and it doesn't show my favorite character having deeper issues. So, what is this episode about? It's about Jeremie losing the ability to communicate with Aelita, while at the same time, a girl who looks a lot like Aelita and is even voiced by the same person who voices Aelita, who also voices Jeremie, just a random fun fact I'm throwing in. Anyway, the girl who looks a lot like Aelita arrives at the school, and Jeremie assumes she must be Aelita, but she doesn't recognize him or any of the other Lyoko warriors or anything about Lyoko, so Jeremie obsessively insists on forcing her into that role, despite her not being anything like Aelita personality-wise. Oh no. He's objectified her. Not in the way most people mean now, where they mean that sexually, but relationally. He is solely focused on achieving his goal of dating Aelita. This is cringe, but it's a different kind of cringe than I thought it was. As a kid, I thought he was just embarrassing himself over and over with someone who he doesn't actually know, but this honestly, genuinely makes me feel bad for saying he's my favorite character. When I was doing my rewatch, I initially only watched each episode once. This is the only episode I rewatched twice on my initial go-through, and I did it because I realized this wasn't just cringy, but Jeremie actively doing bad things. And when I watched it again with that fact in mind, certain things stood out. At the beginning of the episode, Jeremie and Aelita are talking about things and Jeremie feels useless, so he says so out loud.
Thanks for the encouragement, but I'm useless, I tell you.
Jeremie? Well, because I'm not so sure. I'd like to have a best friend who's useless.
The term best friend really stands out as a line, especially in the context of Jeremie's obsession. Then there's the fact that everyone except Jeremie has rightful, skeptical questions, and acknowledge that while she does look like Aelita, that doesn't mean she is Aelita. Talia, the girl who looks like Aelita, gives an appropriate reaction to people asking weird questions and acting like they are trying to pick her up like they're pickup artists.
Come on, that's the oldest pickup line around.
Jeremie doesn't even have the slightest patience to wait and check to see if Aelita is out of Lyoko, or even just uncommunicatable, and only checks to stop everyone from asking him to check.
With two
I have to check out Lyoko now. I can't wait any longer.
He doesn't even notice that Talia has luggage, something that Aelita would not have gotten on her own. After Jeremie takes her to the factory to try and restore her memories, Talia assumes it's Jeremie who wants to destroy the planet, and not an evil AI, which it's honestly an understandable reaction to all of this. She tells the principal and brings them there to take Jeremie away. Everyone eventually finds the real Aelita, who is in a guardian like Yumi was earlier. Jeremie is able to make a fake Aelita to free her and then save everything. This obviously happens before the principal shows up. The only thing I wish happened in this episode was Aelita talking with Jeremie about what he did here. But instead, they make a joke out of it.
If you look closely, you can see their eyes aren't the same. The nose is different, and so is the hair. How could you have possibly thought she was Aelita?
Did you just say that we thought?
You sure did.
The other thing I wish happened was that they didn't do this episode. I do want to make clear, this is Jeremie's lowest point. It never gets this bad again. Just in time. Fun fact, with the weird order, the DVD puts this episode as the last one on the last DVD and comes right after the season finale. Which is hilarious because, spoiler for later in the video, the finale is about Jeremie completely finishing the dematerialization program. So what's this episode about? This episode starts with Jeremie getting the closest he has come to completing the materialization program. He has materialized one hair of Aelita's, which he keeps in a test tube. Stalker. Jeremie is then quite bold in planning on going straight from a single hair to Aelita herself, even though he specifically did a hair because it was a simpler object than a person. And then the worst thing happens. The program doesn't work. Jeremie has screwed up the materialization program so much that Aelita could genuinely die if she inputs Code Lyoko into a tower. As a kid, I thought this possibly was, just a little over the top. But honestly, as someone who does programming now, it honestly feels real. Like, you make one little mistake live in production and then all of a sudden everything's screwed up and you're gonna have a very bad day. And it's no wonder Xana uses this as an opportunity to attack. As a side plot, Odd is having to hide his dog Kiwi, so he asks Jeremie to watch him, and that happening while Jeremie is working on fixing the program is really stressful and, again, relatable to me now. Because the dog does not want to be there, and again, I'm a programmer, and I've had to dog sit while working from home, and tried to keep the dog in my work area with me, and I nearly lost it. Trust me, it really gets on your nerves when the dog does not want to be there when you have to work. Unrelated to any of this, there's an absolute amazing animation mistake in this. Or, I guess since technically this is an import to America, a voice acting mistake. where clearly Ulrich is the one talking in this one bit, but it's Yumi's face in the close-up.
I hope he finds the right solution before Xana attacks again.
That's Yumi's face. I don't know what happened here. I just wanted to talk about it. So I actually have one more thing to go here. I had recorded a bit for a different episode, but turns out that bit actually belongs in this episode, and I need to set it up a little bit. So I'll just say, Xana's plans involve using sound to shake up the building to where it's collapsing. And then this moment follows.
Other side!
Are you out of your mind, Odd? It's at least a 10-meter drop!
What is the metric system doing in what young me thought was an American show? Back to the plot, the rest of the episode is about everyone getting really close to the tower to deactivate it, but they realize if Aelita puts in code Lyoko, she will die, so they have to just wait for Jeremie to fix it. Again, as a programmer, this sequence was so much more stressful as an adult. I've been there when you have a problem in production and you have to fix it now. And you need the one thing that you don't have, time. But again, Aelita, being probably the best person out of anyone on the team, makes the best choice.
I've got to deactivate the tower.
No, give me a little more time.
She chooses to sacrifice herself to save everyone when Jeremie can't fix it in time. And it's especially because Xana's attack will hurt many people. The rest of the Lyoko warriors choose to help her. And they're obviously making the right move too. If Aelita's gone, they can turn off the supercomputer and Aelita is gone. And one person is not worth all the people that would be destroyed by Xana's attack. And I'll also say, this is a much better version of Jeremie's obsession than there was in The Girl of the Dreams. Yes, I'm sticking to that title. It's what the episode calls itself. Jeremie is in the moment, rushed and focused on the computer problem. He's not thinking about the hundreds of lives being risked by Xana's attack. And as a coder, you do think like that. You think, I can fix this. It's code. I know how to do this. I just need more time. And you forget, you don't have time. Aelita chooses to spend her last moment saying goodbye to Jeremie before inputting code Lyoko and saving everyone.
No, don't do it, Aelita!
Goodbye, Jeremie.
No! Aelita!
After the return to the past, everyone is sad because they were right. Aelita did not survive. But then Yumi has an idea.
Is it possible to reverse things and recreate Aelita's code from the strand of her hair?
They could use the single hair that caused the entire problem to bring Aelita back because it contains her DNA. And it works!
I'm ready for my materialization now.
Hi, Aelita! Aelita, it worked!
The only consequence of any of this is Aelita only has her memory through the hair being taken. She actually doesn't even remember the hair being taken. That's how far back it goes. And honestly, overall win to the whole horrible situation. Frontier. I would argue this episode has a bad title because I genuinely couldn't remember what this episode was about based on title alone. We start the episode with Jeremie and Aelita working on the materialization program again, and Jeremie is getting frustrated at Aelita for them doing the same thing twice, which makes some sense. He is stressed and trying, etc. But I can tell tech people were not helping them with this because he says they both defragmented the system, which you can do that twice and it'll be fine. It's like organizing a deck of cards into new deck order. You do that twice, it's the same thing. The second time does nothing. I don't get why that caused a problem. Aelita decides to give Jeremie time to himself to calm down. Both of their frustrations in this moment are again understandable. Jeremie, again speaking as a coder, am I covering for him because this is less bad than The Girl of the Dreams? Maybe, but it is at least understandable. They feel more like colleagues in this than they do otherwise. Jeremie talks with the rest of the Lyoko warriors and says he wants to make it up to Aelita and apologize.
I really have to go.
Where to? The boys' room?
Of course not.
All right, we'll move
To
on to the next
Lyoko.
part.
Honestly, good on him for recognizing he completely overreacted and screwed up. And is like, how do I make it up to her? I do something I've never done before and go to her to apologize in person because that's better than just through the computer. Honestly great. This is, I think, the real turning point for Jeremie and Aelita, especially in the context of the Girl of the Dreams. Jeremie asks Yumi to do the virtualization, and he terrifies her with the amount of information in a giant book.
Anyway, we'll stay in contact, and if you have any trouble, just check my notes.
And yes, it's overwhelming, and it does point to the fact that Jeremie does a lot with this. However, something does go wrong, and he is stuck in a void between worlds. Aelita can hear him in her head, which is close in just different way than expected. Jeremie knows Aelita just needs to get to Way Towers to compile information about him in order to get him out. Side note, throughout the season, we hear about different types of towers, and there is zero explanation for what makes them different, and we just have to guess what it means. I'm still not clear on Way Towers, Passage Towers, etc., but it really doesn't matter. The characters know, and that's the important thing. This episode also doesn't have a traditional Xana attack. Xana just figures out what they are doing and tries to stop them, which is a fun change of pace. At the end, they do manage to compile Jeremie together again to get him out, and then we see this beautiful sequence where Jeremie, as a 2D cartoon, touches the 3D Aelita.
Oh, Aelita!
And it's honestly beautiful. It shows them coming tantalizingly close to each other. And just seeing the excitement on each of them is fantastic. And at the end, Jeremie says he still enjoyed the entire thing despite everything he went through. It's great.
It was fantastic!
Ultimately, I really love this episode. Just for how different it is. There's no real Xana attack. There's no return to the past, which does imply you can't return to the past unless there's a Xana attack, or for some reason no one thinks of using that program, which admittedly would have been useful because Jeremie was gone from school for over a day and they have to make excuses for it. But it deals with Jeremie's problems in a really good way and also shows really good friend dynamics with everyone working together to save their friend. Ghost Channel is my favorite episode of the entire show's run, and it's in the first season. It just has so much to enjoy. Parallel real worlds, Jeremie going to Lyoko for real this time, Xana makes a physical appearance, it's great. It's another episode starting mid-adventure where everyone stops Xana, and then Odd does a bit of showboating, much to everyone's annoyance.
Hey Jeremie, next time just enjoy the show and let the real pros get the job done, okay? Huh?
Then Return to the Past happens, and you get a real sense that everyone's used to this, because Jeremie just whispers behind him to where he thinks Ulrich and Odd are, without realizing they're not there. Return to the Past has gone wrong. Or has it? We get a transition, like a VHS tape, to another version of things where Jeremie, Odd, and Ulrich are, but Jeremie is acting strange.
Jeremie?
Present.
He isn't responding to Odd.
No hard feelings, huh?
I will say, I do like that Odd and Jeremie in the Alone World's reactions is to say no hard feelings about everyone's reaction to the showboating thing. I don't know why it's just them doing that, but because everyone was annoyed, but I do like the narrative use of the moment. In the world where weird Jeremie is, he comes across as creepily enigmatic.
They'd ask me if I noticed that, with all due respect, ma'am, the Brouwer equation you wrote on the blackboard is wrong.
In the weird Jeremie world, everyone assumes Jeremie is just sulking.
Anyone know why he's sulking?
He's angry at Odd.
But he's just constantly looking at his computer. Back in the world where Ulrich and Odd are missing, Jeremie searches for and finds that Yumi didn't come back either. He works with Aelita and they find that everyone is trapped by what I would call a guardian, but they don't for some reason. It's like what Yumi was trapped in before, but it's a super big one. Okay, I'll just call it what it is. Real Jeremie gets stuck trying to explain where Odd, Yumi, and Ulrich are, but gets a few minutes to go to his computer and talk with Aelita, who says that she can operate the school's network like Xana can. Which is an amazing ability that we never get to see used again. Weird. Back in what we now know is the virtual world, Yumi has noticed glitches in reality.
They have their entrances and... And all the men and women merely players.
Making the same gestures, and they act as if I'm not even there.
Also, Jeremie's Xana seems to be upset that they're catching on.
Sure wouldn't hurt to keep an eye on things.
At the factory, real Jeremie is able to get a glimpse as to what's going on thanks to Aelita catching a weird signal, and he can see everyone at a duplicate of Caddick. In the clip, fake Jeremie's excuse for not doing gym makes sense.
Hey, how come you're not doing phys ed, Jeremie?
Jim agreed to excuse me.
It makes the most sense with him being the architect of this world. And I can't imagine what real Jeremie is feeling seeing a fake version of him doing things that he knows he didn't do, but it looks like him.
But how can that be, Aelita? I'm in the picture!
Insert commentary about AI. There are a lot of great moments in this scene of Jeremie at the factory figuring out what's going on, but him instantly coming up with a plan that even Aelita thinks is crazy, but he sees as the only way to get everyone out from whatever parallel bubble reality they are in.
It's gonna have to be me. If you take over the controls, then I'll be able to go.
It's too dangerous.
But Aelita, there's something I want to tell you. I'd much rather be entering a virtual world to find you waiting there for me.
So would I.
He's come a long way since the Girl of the Dreams. Real Jeremie gets virtualized by Aelita into the fake virtual world, and I like the shot where it looks like Aelita is physically looking at the screen next to her as she's typing in the stuff to virtualize Jeremie.
Virtualization.
After Jeremie arrives, a flower transforms into Xana's eye, and we see fake Jeremie's laptop is showing him the POV of the flower, which is what makes it clear this is Xana himself taking the place of Jeremie. Some of the people of this reality transform to become zombies that do Xana's bidding, and there are a lot of great choices here. Showing Herb and Nicholas with just missing pupils is great. It shows that there's multiple stages to the zombification, and I like how you can see them get taller when they go full zombie. Just really good stuff. Zombie Jim pushes them away.
Out of my way!
It's a fascinating choice. It implies that each of the zombies still have individuality and personality even when they go full zombie, which you would not expect. You would expect the personality to drop off now that the pretense is gone, but it's still there. Due to circumstance, everyone ends up at the virtual factory, and Yumi, being the most intelligent out of everyone, is able to immediately catch on to fake Jeremie's lies about Lyoko being destroyed by saying, "We can't go to Lyoko if you're destroying it."
Okay, we gotta check this out, Yumi.
Hey, wait a minute. If the link has been cut, how do you intend to send us there?
It's an obvious lie, but I'm glad someone called it out. In response, fake Jeremie takes a power pose and is acting like, "I've got you now." It's so not Jeremie, and it's immediately suspicious. Then, real Jeremie comes out of the
Yumi,
elevator.
you're right! It's a trap!
The which one is fake argument coming down to real Jeremie saying, "I care about you enough that I would risk coming to the virtual world when I've never done that before," is one of the best examples of friendship I've seen. It's great.
The only proof is the fact that I'm here with you. I got in here via the scanner. I'm here in virtual form.
Fake Jeremie saying,
"Everybody knows that the real Jeremie wouldn't step foot in the scanner. He'd be much too frightened."
initially is a great giveaway. In addition to the rest knowing that Jeremie would care about his friends enough to overcome his fear. Xana's realization that people are not logical breaks him, and the entire illusion falls away.
It's not logical! No!
And it is so good. The transformation is perfectly terrifying, and hearing Xana's voice, where he just says,
"You are going to die!"
It's all perfectly scary. This is one of my favorite terrifying moments of the show. Jeremie's scream for Aelita being the thing that gets her to be able to break the Guardian and the world is great, and the music during this is perfect. It's a mix of scary and triumphant. Works extremely well. And the ending with Xana just getting mad and just sending a crap ton of blocks is great. I love that. Yeah, this was my favorite episode growing up, and it still is now. There's just so much to love about it. It's a great story of friendship shaped by a parallel world plot, and the fake world feels incredibly dangerous, given that anything could be turned against you. It adds a great deal of terror to the situation. It's just so good. Now we're going to talk about the two-part season finale and what it represents for Season 2. Season 2 had more serialization and more of a continuity to it, and it was less Freak of the Week style episodes. I'll admit I could be wrong on that point as to how much of it is Freak of the Week, like if it's still some in Season 2. I'll be honest, I haven't rewatched Season 2 in a little bit because I've been so focused on getting this season's reviewed. What I can say is that the serialized narrative begins with this two-part season finale. Part 1, Code Earth, starts with Jeremie having finished his devirtualization program. I will be honest, as a kid, I thought you would see more of him working on it during this episode, but I thought the episode was still good anyway. As a programmer, it's best to not show programming, it's not super cinematic. After confirming the program works, Jeremie calls Yumi to start plans with her parents.
Mom and Dad, can I talk to you for a second? It's about my pen pal. You haven't changed your mind about her living here for a while.
Yumi also claims Aelita's last name is...
It's Aelita, Lyoko.
Plans for including Aelita in the real world continue when at Cadix...
What's your cousin's name, Odd?
Aelita.
And where does she come from?
She's from, Holland.
I feel like having different stories for different people would only have a limited time before they were found out, but I do appreciate the fact that they took time to think of ways to explain Aelita being there. And I'll also say, Jeremie's joy after the final test of the program is infectious.
That's it! We've got it this time! It works!
You feel the culmination of all the hours that have been put into this, even if, for the viewers, it's only been 24 episodes before this. The fact that they didn't start with how they got in this situation implies even more time has been spent on this. After the test, all of the Lyoko warriors tell Aelita the program is finished, and she gets super excited.
Aelita, I don't know how to tell you this, but believe it or not, we're waiting for you here.
Really?
Jeremie then sets down the CD that contains the program amongst other CDs. Boy, I sure hope that he doesn't get it mixed up with another one. Oops. Jim is then being accusatory with Ulrich and trying to see what they're up to. Something he has rarely done throughout the season, but as a kid, I didn't realize that wasn't a thing. I just bought into it completely and was like, yes, like always, Jim's always doing that. The principal then catches Jim accusing them of being up to something and says Jim needs to stop doing this. Later, everyone leaves in the middle of class to help Aelita, and are followed by Jim, who loses them while they go into the sewer in the forest.
No?
Aelita makes her way to the passage tower. See? Another type of tower that isn't explained, other than this is what you need to get out of Lyoko for a permanent resident. Jeremie then puts the CD he picked up off of his desk and finds it's actually Odd's music video for his song, Break, Break, Break Dance!
Break, break, break dance, here we go!
Yep, it happened. Jeremie then returns to the dorm to find the right CD. Jim spots Jeremie and abandons his class to follow Jeremie, and chases Jeremie to the point he falls down the stairs and sprains his ankle. Jim takes Jeremie to the nurse and is deservedly fired.
I'm going to have to let you go.
While this is happening, Xana sends a megatank to try and destroy the tower so Aelita can't be devirtualized. Back in the real world, Jim apologizes to Jeremie, and since Jeremie can't get around on a sprained ankle, he decides to tell Jim everything to trade for helping get him to the factory. Jim also agrees to tell the principal everything after they shut down the supercomputer to try and help Jim get his job back. I don't know if that would work, but I do appreciate the fact that he is going to try. After arriving at the factory, the other Lyoko warriors start getting devirtualized after being attacked by various monsters. Jeremie is then able to put in the CD and input
Code Earth.
and Aelita is de-virtualized. And we get to meet Aelita on Earth to much celebration.
She's here at last. Welcome to Earth.
Part 2 has an extremely appropriate name, False Start. Part 2 starts with a Previously On segment without the words Previously On, which works and makes a difference to lots of shows I could name. Not a improvement or anything, just a difference. Also, now that we've seen Aelita come to the real world, I'm sure the opening theme will be updated to have Aelita match with the rest of the Lyoko warriors that go to Lyoko. Oh, it's the same. Well, I guess that makes sense. It would be a lot to update the theme for just one episode. But I'm sure they'll update the theme for next season. I'm sure they won't just completely redo it, and I'll never get to see this version of the theme with real-world Aelita on it. We begin with Aelita starting her schooling at Caddick, and we see that Sissy is jealous of Aelita because she has a group of friends in the group she wants into.
Just who does that new girl think she is?
Okay, there was one other episode that hinted at this, but I'll just say it now. While doing the rewatch, I did realize Sissy's not actually as popular as she claims. She just wants in the friend group with the people that I've mentioned, but she just goes at it really badly. Anyway, on to the episode. Aelita has enjoyed some of the classes, but things are strange to her. Also, I don't like her character design here. I prefer her Season 2 look, if for no other reason than they don't try to color her eyes green. But her outfit is also just much better in Season 2. The Season 1 outfit just doesn't feel right for her character. I don't know how else to put it, other than her Season 2 look fits her character much better. We then go to the factory where Jim is currently living, it seems. He needs a shower. Anyway, they all go to the supercomputer room and Jeremie goes to turn off the computer. Aelita is nervous, I think due to the anxiety about what it means to have her home be destroyed. But then, as soon as it's turned off, she passes out. So they decide to turn it back on. After Aelita wakes up, Jeremie scans her and finds Xana has infected her with a virus. It ties her life with his. If one of them goes, so does the other. It's fixable, but Jeremie would have to find it and remove it. Jeremie then offers to walk Aelita to Yumi's.
I'll take you back to Yumi's. It's kind of late.
And Jim practically breaks the fourth wall with how clearly he can tell that they like each other. Their walk feels like the ending of an otherwise normal date, and it's beautiful. They explore the city at night and even find a photo booth and take pictures together. I would sincerely love a full episode that is just this. It's so sweet. I love it. At the campus the next day, they all meet up and go to classes. Oh, on the blackboard, you can see the math formula AX plus B. I learned at some point that different countries teach that formula with different letters. In America, it's MX plus B. And apparently in France, it's AX plus B. Fun! Anyway, at the factory, Xana starts materializing things. At Caddick, the Lyoko warriors, for the first time, all 5 of them, can see a Xana attack occurring. They see a Cankrelot attacking people. They realize they need to fight Xana again. Ulrich then drops this line.
You know very well that if there's a victim, that going back in time won't bring her back to life.
Ulrich! Why did you drop this bit of lore? And in the season finale? Also, that's dark. What do people who die from natural causes or a random other murder have happened to them? Do they just drop dead after Return to the Past? How did you figure this out? I have so many questions, and the implications are truly insane to think about. By the way, this isn't mentioned again, as far as I can remember. I mean, it does explain why everyone cares about keeping people alive when Return to the Past exists, but man, that's dark. Anyway, there are a lot of monsters attacking the school, so they decide to split up, some going to the factory, some staying at the school. At the factory, Jeremie, Aelita, and Odd find a lot of damage and look for Jim, who they find attacking Cankrelots as soon as they come out of the scanners. Aelita says to send her to Lyoko, knowing that she might not be able to deactivate the tower or come back to Earth, but it's worth it to save everyone. To be clear, they have no idea how the virus Xana gave her is going to affect her. They do not know if any of that will be workable, but she has to try. Odd then gives Jim the drill he had been using to attack the Cancrolots.
Here, it's like a Swiss Army knife.
See you later.
I'd never heard of a Swiss Army knife before this, so I took it literally and was asking, where's the knife blade? Where's the knife blade, Odd? Why are you calling this a Swiss Army knife? There's no knife. Please, help me. Even now, seeing Aelita be virtualized in this episode feels weird. I like how she clearly didn't realize how to land properly and is just disappointed to not be in the real world. And as mentioned in an earlier episode I didn't mention here, Lyoko only has 2 senses. You can only see and hear. I guess you can technically sense pulsations from the towers, but that's it. That's all the senses you have. And Aelita is now incredibly disappointed to not be in the real world. She has been there less than 2 days and is already just like a native human. Ulrich and Yumi are joined by Jim in attacking the Cancrolots. Jim then sends them to the factory to go help save the world faster. Jim gets attacked and draws attention from yet more students to himself to save them. And it's clear Jim's not winning this fight. He's just taking the damage for other students. And I'll say this, despite how they got to this point with Jim causing the entire situation to where he needed to be helping them, I genuinely like the dynamic that Jim and the Lyoko Warriors have. They're a fun group, especially with Jim insisting that his friends call him Jimbo.
My friends call me Jimbo.
I am genuinely slightly upset they never revisited this dynamic. Aelita then is able to get to the tower and she can deactivate it. Yay! Time reverses and they are back at the beginning of the 2-parter with Aelita still in the computer, and she decides to stay in Lyoko till they can figure out how to remove the virus.
It's impossible. The virus is still in me. I can feel it.
We could materialize you for an hour or 2, so you could pay us a little visit, huh?
Why not?
When Jim catches them, they claim to have been planning a prank.
He's right, sir. We really were plotting.
We were going to play a little joke on Nicholas and Herb.
So that Jim can actually catch them doing something and not get in trouble when the principal catches Jim. The season ends with Jeremie looking at photos of him and Aelita from the photo booth. Should these photos still exist? No. Do I care? No. Everyone embraces each other as they're exiting the hallway into a white void. It's a really good ending, with a great setup for season 2. Overall, this is my favorite childhood show. When I started making videos, this was originally going to be my 4th ever video when I was releasing these weekly. Yes, I was crazy to think I could make this in that kind of time, but I definitely always knew I wanted to review this. And this has been fantastic to revisit it. And very little has aged badly for me, and the only thing that really did was an episode I didn't like anyway. So I'll just say this, if you have never seen this show before, I hopefully haven't completely ruined the plot of this season for you, but please go watch. And you don't need to get expensive DVDs like I have. You can watch it on YouTube. Code Lyoko has an official English language YouTube channel with full episodes on it. I only really watched the DVD for nostalgia, and so that the comments on the videos wouldn't influence my opinions. So if this draws you to it, I'm really happy about that. But I'll also say this has been an extremely pleasant visit down memory lane, and I really can't wait to get started on season 2, although this has been a lot of work, so that'll probably be next year. But still, I love this show, and I'll be so happy to return to season 2 and just keep watching it, and yeah, it's great. Thank you for watching. Okay, this is the part of the video where I normally put a blooper reel. There were lots of bloopers that I found while filming this that I could put here, but instead, I'm going to take a moment to say, while I was prepping this video and I did my initial watch through, because I can't write fast, I was taking notes on my phone using Siri. And because this show uses a lot of European names, American Siri does not understand any of these names. And I wanted to talk about this, but I didn't have a good spot in the main video, so I decided to just put it here, and instead of my bloopers, we'll have Siri's bloopers. So here's the names as they should be spelled, and here's how Siri spelled them. Sissy, which is spelled like this, got sis and sissy. The second one at least makes sense. Yumi had you, me, Yui, you may, you mean, you me, you. I didn't think Odd got any names wrong, but he actually got two. He was called Todd and Art. Jeremie got away pretty easily by just misspelling Jeremie as Jeremy. It's ununderstandable. I normally spell it like that, even though when typing up the script, I did spell it with the correct spelling because I care. Xana got Xena, Zana, Zena, Zenana, Xanadu. How did that happen? Xander, Zane, Xena, Dana, Zeus's. Aelita got Vita, Eileen, Aelita, Elena, Eileeds, Aelita, Aelita, I. Really, just the letter I. I-leader, Allie, Aelita. Of all the misspellings it got, though, my favorite was Ulrich. It spelled his name Ulrich, Aldrich, Rick, Ulrich, Ori Ulrich, Ulrich, Rick, Ori, and oh, Rick!